Hello, I would like to make a small comment on seeing madness as something positive. This is very interesting, especially from the perspective of cognitive therapy. I'm a psychologist and I do cognitive therapy with my patients, and I know that the moment they can think of their experience as something positive, everything changes. If they think of their psychosis or their madness or their depression or whatever they call it, if they think of it as something very negative, especially if they think about it as a broken brain, it's very negative. If they can think about it as a positive experience, a spiritual experience, it changes everything. So from this perspective of cognitive therapy, it is very positive to define a mental problem or a psychotic break or whatever we should call it as something positive. And it's true, like one of the commenters said, that in other cultures it can be looked upon as something positive. There's one anecdote that I often tell in my courses about two doctors who were interested in parapsychology. One doctor during the lunch break was going to try to transmit a word to another doctor sitting at the other end of a long corridor in a psychiatric ward. And she tried to transmit the word Johnny Walker because the other doctor was very interested in Johnny Walker. So she tried to transmit this word. After a little while there was a big commotion in the hallway. There was a patient running up and down saying, "Why are they calling me Johnny Walker? Why are they calling me Johnny Walker?" And there was actually a Russian psychiatrist who thought that maybe there is something special with people when they have their psychotic breaks. So he tested them on parapsychology experiments when they came in, before they were medicated, and they scored way above chance, indicating that they had the ability to receive telepathic messages. After they had been medicated, this ability went away. So there are many interesting ways of looking at psychological problems. Research has shown that if you can normalize the experience and see that it is on a continuum, patients suffer a lot less because they don't have to judge themselves as fundamentally different, especially not brain disordered. They are not different from other people. For instance, paranoia comes in all degrees. It can be a small suspicion up to a very strong feeling that something is wrong. And if we think about it, in many ways, paranoia up to a certain degree is very protective. Here in Norway we have a big problem with women walking alone in town at 2 o'clock at night, going back from parties and being raped. In other countries this would be totally unthinkable. And Norwegians might say they're so paranoid, they think they're going to be raped if they just go to town. Okay, well in this case a certain paranoia might be good. In other instances, for instance, parents being a little bit paranoid about their children walking alone long distances, okay, maybe it's good. Maybe it's for the good of the children to be a little bit paranoid. In other cultures where psychotic breaks are not seen as biological, but maybe more spiritual and might be taken away by counter-spiritual practices, the recovery rates are higher, and it's quite logical. The people who try to take away the spiritual negativity with the spiritual positivity will immediately start looking for positive results from their actions, and we get a placebo effect at least. And research from developing countries shows that double as many people recover from schizophrenia, for instance, like it's written in Bob's book. The practice of saying that this is a degenerative biological brain disease can be extremely dangerous from the point of view of the so-called nocebo effect. Nocebo effect is the opposite of the placebo effect. In other words, if people think that they are going to remain very sick, this might actually bring about the very sickness that you predict. So as the placebo effect, if you think that a certain remedy is going to cure you, you get better. With the nocebo effect, in other words, negative predictions about how bad this is going to keep you sick and make you sicker. So we have every reason in the world, especially since we don't know what psychotic breaks and so-called madness is all about, we have every reason in the world to define it as something positive. So thank you for this great post.